That afternoon, I discovered that 30 years of love can break in 30 seconds. My name is Emily. I am 58 years old, and this is the story I never thought I would have to tell. I smell fresh coffee every time I think about that afternoon. I do not know why. Maybe because coffee was always our morning ritual. Maybe because that aroma no longer exists in my kitchen. Let me tell you from the beginning. I had gone on a trip to Chicago to visit my sister Sarah. She was in poor health and asked me to stay with her for a week. Michael, my husband, told me not to worry. He said he would take care of the house. He told me to take my time. Go, Emily, your sister needs you. I will be fine here. I trusted him, just like I always trusted him. 30 years of marriage build that kind of blind trust, right? Or at least that is what I thought. But on the third day, something would not let me sleep. It was a strange restlessness, a feeling that tightened my chest. Sarah was better. She already had someone to take care of her, and I felt I had to go back. I took the first bus of the morning. I did not tell Michael. I wanted to surprise him, maybe take him to breakfast at his favorite diner, maybe make that pot roast he loved so much. I arrived at the house around noon. The sun was hitting hard. The street was empty and silent. And then I saw it. A car parked in my driveway. A gray sedan. I knew that car. It was Linda's car. Linda is the mother-in-law of my son David. She is the mother of Jessica, my daughter-in-law. What was her car doing there? I stood frozen in front of the gate. My heart was beating fast. I thought of 1,000 reasons. Maybe she had come to drop something off. Maybe she needed to talk to Michael about the grandkids. Maybe... I opened the door carefully. The house was silent. I walked up the stairs slowly, step by step. The wooden floor creaked under my feet. And then I heard it. Laughter. Laughter coming from my room, from my bedroom. Laughter from Michael, and laughter from a woman. I stood paralyzed in the hallway. The door was ajar. I did not know whether to move forward or go back. But something inside me, something stronger than fear, pushed me forward. I put my hand on the door. I pushed it open. And what I saw there, what I saw in my own room, changed my life forever. Michael was standing in front of the bed. He had 2 suitcases open. His clothes were folded on the duvet. Shirts, pants, his favorite shoes. And next to him, holding a blouse in her hands helping him pack, was Linda. They both turned around at the same time. They saw me in the doorway. Neither of them said anything. I could not speak either. The words had left me. The air had left me. I could only look at them. And in that silence, in that terrible silence, I knew that everything I believed, everything I had built, had just collapsed. Sometimes we trust too much in those we should not. Have you also been disappointed by someone you loved? Tell me your story in the comments. I want to read it. Before I tell you what happened in that room, I need you to understand who we were. Michael and I met in 1985. I was 25 years old. I worked at an office supply store downtown. He came in every Friday to buy manila envelopes for his office. He always greeted me. He always smiled. One day he invited me for coffee. I accepted. And that coffee turned into 30 years of shared life. We got married on May 18th. It rained that day. My mom used to say that rain on your wedding day brings good luck. I believed her. Michael was an accountant, hardworking, responsible. He was not the most romantic man in the world, but he was consistent. He came home every night. He helped me with the bills. He played with our son David in the backyard. I remember the mornings. I would make a fresh pot of coffee with cinnamon. He read the newspaper at the kitchen table. I served him pastries, his favorites. You know what, Emily? He would say to me sometimes, I do not need much to be happy. This is enough for me. And I believed him. We raised David together. We watched him grow. We watched him graduate. We watched him marry Jessica, a sweet, polite girl, the daughter of Linda. Linda was widowed young. She raised Jessica alone. I admired her for that. I thought we had something in common. We both knew what it was like to support a family with hard work. We became close. We drank coffee together when she came to visit Jessica. We talked about the grandkids, about recipes, about life. I trusted her. I trusted both of them. Our life was not perfect. We had arguments like everyone else. Michael was quiet, sometimes too quiet. I was intense, sometimes too intense, but I never imagined that Michael's silence hid something like this. I remember an afternoon, it was 2 years ago. I was in the kitchen making dinner. Michael came home from work earlier than usual. Did something happen? I asked him. No, I just wanted to be home. He answered. He sat on the recliner in the living room. He turned on the TV, but he was not watching it. He had a lost look in his eyes. I thought he was tired, that he had a bad day at the office. Now I know that day, maybe that very day, something had already started. There were signs, small ones, almost invisible. Michael started going out more. I am going to help Linda with some repairs at her house, he would say. I am going to go with her to the bank. She is afraid to go alone. I let him go. I thought he was a good man, a good friend of the family. How foolish I was. Sometimes when we were in bed, I would ask him, "Are you okay, Michael?" "Yes, Emily, I am fine." But his voice sounded distant, as if he were already somewhere else, and I kept trusting. Because after 30 years, what else can you do but trust? While I tell all this, I wonder where you are listening from. Write the name of your city in the comments. There was an exact moment when everything changed. I did not see it then. But now with time, I see it as clear as water. It was at my grandson Sam's birthday party. He was turning 5. Jessica and David organized a party at their house. There were balloons, chocolate cake, a dinosaur piñata. The whole family was there, my sisters, the cousins, and of course, Linda. I remember I arrived early that day to help Jessica with the food. We made barbecue potato salad, iced tea. The kitchen smelled of spices and cooking. Michael arrived later. He said he had to finish some paperwork at the office. He walked through the door with a smile. He greeted everyone. He picked up Sam in his arms. "Grandpa." The boy shouted with that joy that only children have. I watched him from the kitchen. I was filled with tenderness. I thought, this is the man I will grow old with, the grandfather of my grandchildren, my partner. How wrong I was. The party went on normally. The kids played, the adults talked, we ate, we laughed. At one point, I went to the bathroom. When I came out, I walked down the hall and heard voices in the living room. It was Michael and Linda. They were speaking in low voices, almost in whispers. I stopped. I do not know why. Something in their tone caught my attention. "We cannot go on like this," Linda was saying. "I know," Michael replied, "but it is not the time yet." There was a silence. "I'm getting tired of waiting," she said. "Give me a little more time, please." I stood frozen on the other side of the wall. My heart was beating hard. What were they talking about? What were they waiting for? I thought about going in, about asking, but something stopped me. Fear, maybe, or denial. I went back to the kitchen. Jessica asked me if I was okay. I said yes, that I was just tired. But I was not tired. I was scared. That night when we got back home, I asked Michael, "What were you talking about with Linda at the party?" He looked at me surprised. "When, in the living room, I heard you talking." He went silent for a moment. Then he smiled. That smile I knew so well. Oh, that. She was asking me for advice on an investment. You know she does not understand much about those things. He kissed me on the forehead. "Let's go to sleep, Emily. You are tired." And I believed him, because it was easier to believe than to doubt. But from that day on, something broke inside me. A small crack, almost imperceptible. The following weeks were strange. Michael started receiving calls that he did not answer in front of me. He would go out to the patio. He would speak in a low voice. He would come back as if nothing happened. Who was it, I would ask? "Work," he always said. One Saturday morning, his cell phone rang while he was in the shower. He left it on the kitchen table. I was making breakfast. I saw the screen light up. Linda. The phone vibrated 3 times. 4, 5. I did not answer. I did not touch it, but I stood staring at it until it stopped ringing. When Michael came out of the bathroom, I told him, "Linda called you." "Oh yes, it must be about Jessica's gift. I will call her later." Another explanation. There was always an explanation, and I always accepted it. But the crack was getting bigger. One afternoon, while I was cleaning Michael's car, I found a receipt. It was from a florist. Red roses, 12 roses. I had not received flowers in years. Who were these flowers for? I asked him that night. He did not even seem nervous. For the secretary at the office. It was her birthday. We all chipped in. I put the receipt in my purse. I did not say anything else. But that night I could not sleep. I lay awake staring at the ceiling, listening to Michael S. breathing next to me. Deep, calm breathing, while I was drowning in doubt. Was I going crazy? Was I inventing things that did not exist? Or was I seeing what I did not want to see? Months passed. The distance between us grew. We no longer drank coffee together in the mornings. He left early. He came back late. There is a lot of work, he would say. And I nodded. I stopped asking, because I was afraid of the answers. I took refuge in my routine, in my friends, in my grandkids, in the afternoon soap operas, anything not to think, anything not to feel. But the day I decided to go to Chicago to take care of my sister, something in Michael S. eyes unsettled me. He seemed relieved, as if my absence was exactly what he was waiting for. Go without worry, Emily. I will take care of everything here. And I left, trusting, naive, blind, without knowing that when I returned, my life would no longer be the same. Sometimes we ignore the signs because it hurts less than facing the truth. Have you ever felt that something was not right, but you preferred not to ask? Tell me in the comments. There is something no one tells you about pain, that you can live with it for months without even realizing it is there. I lived those months like a ghost in my own house. I smiled when I had to smile. I cooked when I had to cook. I cleaned. I ironed. I fulfilled my role as a wife. But inside, on the inside, something was dying, and I was doing nothing to save it. Because admitting that something was wrong meant facing it, and facing it meant losing Michael, losing my marriage, losing the life I had built for 30 years. So I chose not to see. I chose to believe every explanation, every excuse, every lie disguised as truth. I remember an afternoon. It was about 2 months before my trip to Chicago. I was at the grocery store buying vegetables for dinner, tomatoes, onions, peppers. Suddenly, I heard a familiar voice. Emily. It was my friend Stella, a woman my age. We had been friends for years. We knew each other since our children went to the same school. Stella, it is so good to see you, I said, but Stella had a strange expression, uneasy. Emily, I need to tell you something, she said in a low voice. My heart sped up. What happened? She looked around. We moved away from the vegetable stand a little. Look, I do not know if I should tell you this, but the other day, I saw Michael. Yes, I said with a forced smile. Where he was at a restaurant, that Italian place downtown. He was with a woman. My blood froze. A woman. Yes. I did not see her well, but they were at a table in the back, very close together, talking, looking at each other, intimately. I tried to stay calm. Surely it was a co-worker or a client. Michael deals with many people. Stella looked at me with pity. Maybe, Emily. Maybe. But be careful. Okay? She gave me a hug. She wished me luck. She left. And I stood there, with the grocery bags in my hands, feeling the floor move beneath my feet. That night, I did not say anything to Michael. I made dinner, roast chicken, his favorite. We ate in silence. He told me about his day, about the traffic, about a problem with a client. I nodded. I smiled. I acted. But inside I was screaming. Who was that woman? Why hadn't he told me? Why did he feel the need to hide it? I could have asked him. I should have asked him. But I did not, because I was terrified of the answer. The following days were the hardest of my life. Every time Michael left the house, I asked myself, who is he with? Where is he really going? I started checking his clothes, searching for signs, perfume that was not mine, lipstick stains, something, anything. But Michael was careful. I never found anything. One night while he was sleeping, I took his cell phone. My hands were shaking. I knew it was wrong, that I was invading his privacy. But the pain was stronger than the guilt. I tried to unlock it. But it had a password, A password I did not know. He had never had a password on his phone before. I left it where it was. I went back to bed. I lay with my back to him and cried in silence, very slowly, so he would not hear me. The next day I got up early. I made coffee. The same ritual as always. Michael came down for breakfast. He kissed me on the cheek, as if everything was fine. "Good morning, Emily. Good morning." I poured myself a cup of coffee. I sat across from him. "Michael, are you happy with me?" He looked up from the newspaper. "What kind of question is that?" "I do not know. I feel like we do not talk like before, that you are distant." He stayed silent for a moment. Then he smiled. "I am tired, Emily. Work has me stressed, but everything is fine between us." "Are you sure?" "Sure." He took my hand across the table. He looked me in the eyes. "You are my wife. You always will be." And I believed him, because I needed to believe him. Because the alternative was too painful. Weeks passed. I kept up with my routine. I washed, I ironed, I cooked, I smiled. But inside, I was falling apart. I stopped fixing myself up. What for? Michael did not look at me like before anyway. He no longer told me I looked pretty. He no longer hugged me at night. I gained weight. I stopped wearing makeup. I wore the same clothes every day. My friends asked me if I was okay. Yes, just a little tired. My sisters invited me out. Another day. I have a lot to do around the house. I isolated myself, little by little, without realizing it. Until one day my sister Sarah called me. "Emily, I need you to come. I feel very bad. The doctor says it is nothing serious, but I need help." "Of course, sister. I am coming." I told Michael I would be gone for a week to Chicago. I hoped he would ask me not to go, that he would tell me he was going to miss me, that he wanted me to stay. But he did not. "Go without worry. I will take care of everything here." And in his eyes I saw something that froze my soul. Relief. I packed my suitcase that same afternoon. Clothes, medicine, a book I never read. Before leaving, I stood in the doorway of our bedroom. I saw the bed where we had slept together for so many years. I saw the photographs on the wall, our wedding, David S. birthdays, Christmas mornings, and I felt like I was saying goodbye to something, although I still did not know what. Michael took me to the bus station. He kissed me on the forehead. "Take care, Emily. You too." I got on the bus. I sat by the window. I watched him walk away. And as the bus left the city, as the familiar streets were left behind, I had a thought that terrified me. What if when I return there is nothing left to return to? I tried to shake off that idea. I told myself I was exaggerating, that everything would be fine, that Michael would be waiting for me. But something inside me, something deep and ancient and wise, it knew I was lying. The days in Chicago passed slowly. I took care of Sarah. I made her tea. I kept her company. We talked about life, about the old times. But my mind was elsewhere. I called Michael every night. "How are you?" I asked him. "Good. Everything is quiet here. Did you eat well?" "Yes." "Do not worry. Short, empty mechanical conversations." On the third day, Sarah told me, "I am better, Emily. You have someone to take care of me now. If you need to go back to your house, go." And then I felt that urgency, that need to return. It was not love calling me back. It was fear. Fear of what might be happening in my absence. I took the first bus in the morning. I sent a message to Michael. "I am on my way back, arriving at noon." But he did not see it, or he did not want to see it. During the whole trip, I tried to calm myself. I repeated to myself that everything would be fine, that I would get home, that Michael would be there, that he would hug me, that everything would go back to how it was before. But when the bus arrived at the station, when I took a taxi home, when I saw my street, my heart was beating so hard I thought my chest was going to explode. And when I saw that gray sedan parked in my driveway, I knew that everything I had been denying, everything I had been avoiding, was about to blow up in my face. While I tell all this, I wonder where you are listening from. Write the name of your city in the comments. There are moments in life that stay etched in your memory with brutal clarity, like photographs that never fade, like scars that never fully heal. That moment in front of my bedroom door was one of those. Michael stared at me. His eyes. Those eyes I had known for 30 years. Suddenly they seemed like those of a stranger. Linda was by his side. She was holding one of Michael S. shirts, a blue shirt I had ironed just last week. No one spoke. The silence was so dense I could feel it on my skin, like pressure in my chest, like water entering my lungs. It was Linda who broke the silence. "Emily, But she did not finish the sentence, because there were no words. There was no explanation that could make sense of what I was seeing. My voice came out broken, barely a whisper. "What is happening here?" Michael looked down. He let out a long sigh, a sigh of resignation, as if he had been waiting for this moment for a long time. "Sit down, Emily," he told me. "I do not want to sit down," I replied. "I want you to tell me what is happening. Why is she here? Why are you packing your things?" Linda dropped the shirt on the bed. She put a hand to her chest. She looked nervous, guilty. I should go," she said with a trembling voice. "No," I said with a firmness I did not know I had. "You are not going anywhere. I want answers. Now." Michael ran a hand through his hair, a gesture I knew well. He did it when he was nervous. When he had to make a difficult decision. "Emily, this was not supposed to happen like this. I was going to talk to you. I was going to explain everything. But what, Michael?" I interrupted him. "But I went on a trip and you took the opportunity to do this." I pointed at the suitcases, the clothes, everything. He closed his eyes for a moment. He took a deep breath. And when he opened them again, there was something different in his look, something that terrified me more than anything. Determination. "Emily, Linda and I have been seeing each other for a while." The words fell like stones, one by one, heavy, cold. "Seeing each other," I repeated. "What does that mean?" But I knew what it meant. Of course I knew. I just wanted him to say it, to confess it, to give me that truth I had been denying for months. "It means that we have a relationship," Michael said. I had to hold on to the doorframe. My legs were shaking. "A relationship? Since when?" There was silence. 2 years, Linda said in a low voice. 2 years. 2 years. The phrase repeated in my head like an echo, like a drum, like a scream. 2 years, I repeated. 2 years and I knew nothing. I felt stupid, naive, blind. How had I not seen it? How had I not realized, "Emily, I wanted to tell you before Michael said," but I did not know how. I did not want to hurt you. I laughed. It was a bitter, painful laugh. "You did not want to hurt me, and you think this does not hurt me." He did not answer. I looked at Linda. That woman I had drunk coffee with so many times, the one I had shared recipes with, the one I had planned the grandkids' parties with. "How could you?" I asked her. "I trusted you. I treated you like a friend." Linda had tears in her eyes. "I am sorry, Emily. I did not plan for this to happen. It just happened." "Things do not just happen," I said with rage. "Things happen because you allow them, because you look for them, because you decide to betray the people who trust you." Michael took a step toward me. "Emily, do not talk to her like that. I am also to blame, more to blame than her." And in that moment, I understood something terrible. Michael was defending her, not me, her. "Are you defending her?" I asked in disbelief. "Seriously, I am just saying it is not fair for you to blame only her." I made the decision to be with Linda. I started this. "And what about me, Michael? What about us? About our marriage? About the 30 years we spent together?" He stayed quiet for a moment. Then he spoke with a voice I had never heard from him before. Cold, distant. "Emily, our marriage stopped working a long time ago." I felt like I had been punched in the stomach. We are not happy together anymore. You know it. I know it. We have been like this for years, just coexisting. "I was happy," I said with a broken voice. "I was happy with you, but I was not Emily. And I am sorry. I truly am sorry. But I cannot keep pretending. Tears began to run down my cheeks. I could not control them. I did not want to control them. So what are you going to leave with her? Michael nodded slowly. Yes. When today? Now. That is why I was packing. I was going to leave you a letter. I was going to explain everything. A letter. I repeated with scorn. 30 years of marriage and you were going to leave me a letter. Emily. No, I interrupted him. Do not say my name. Do not talk to me as if you knew me, as if you cared about me. Linda started to cry silently, but I could no longer feel compassion for her. I could not feel anything but pain. And our family, I asked. And David. And the grandkids. Did you not think about them? Of course I thought about them, Michael said, but I also have to think about myself, about my happiness. Your happiness, I screamed. And what about mine? But he did not answer, because in his mind my happiness no longer mattered. I wiped my tears with the back of my hand. I took a deep breath. I tried to recover some composure. Do you love her? I asked. Michael looked at Linda, and in that look I saw something I had not seen in years. Tenderness. Yes, he replied. I love her. And there it was. The truth. Complete, raw, devastating. My husband loved another woman, and that woman was Linda, the mother-in-law of my son, the grandmother of my grandchildren, the woman who sat at my table, who ate from my plates, who received my trust. I want you to get out of my house, I said with a firm voice. Both of you. Now. Michael started putting his clothes in the suitcases. Linda helped him, as if they were a team, as if they had already practiced this. I stood in the doorway, watching them, unable to move. In 10 minutes, the suitcases were ready. Michael carried one, Linda the other. They passed by me without looking at me. They went down the stairs. I followed them. Every step was a blow. Every step was a goodbye. They reached the front door. Michael stopped. He turned toward me. Emily, leave, I said. Just leave. He opened his mouth as if he were going to say something else, but he did not. He walked out the door. Linda followed him. I watched them put the suitcases in the gray sedan. I watched them get into the car. I watched them drive away, and I stayed there standing, in the doorway of my house, watching how the man with whom I had shared my life drove away, with another woman, forever. When the car disappeared at the end of the street, I closed the door. I leaned against it and let myself slide to the floor. There alone in the hallway of my empty house, I cried like I had never cried in my life. I cried for the marriage I had lost, for the man I had trusted, for the life I had built, and that had collapsed in a matter of minutes. I cried until I had no more tears left, until the sun began to set, until the house filled with shadows. And when I could finally get up from the floor, when I could finally breathe without my chest hurting, I realized something. This was not just my house. It was our house, and now it was filled with memories that hurt me just by looking at them. I went up to the bedroom. I saw the bed where we had slept together. I saw the empty closet where his clothes used to hang, and then I saw something on the pillow, a white envelope, with my name written in Michael S. handwriting, the letter, the damn letter he was going to leave me. I took it with trembling hands. I opened it. I read, Dear Emily, I know this is going to hurt you, and believe me, there is nothing I regret more in this world. But the time has come to be honest. 2 years ago, I got to know Linda in a different way. At first, we were just friends. We talked. We understood each other. She listened to me in a way I had not felt heard in a long time, and little by little, I fell in love with her. I tried to fight it. I swear. I tried to keep going with you, but I could not. I cannot keep lying. I cannot keep living a life that I no longer feel is mine. You deserve someone who loves you truly, and I deserve to be happy. I hope someday you can forgive me. Michael. I read the letter 3 times, and with each reading I felt more rage. Forgiveness. Was he asking for forgiveness? I tore the letter into 1,000 pieces. I let them fall to the floor. And there, in the middle of that room that smelled of betrayal and oblivion, I swore that never, never again would I allow someone to make me feel this small, this invisible, this stupid. I still wonder if I did the right thing by letting them go without fighting more. And you, what would you have done in my place? The first days after Michael left were the darkest of my life. I did not eat. I did not sleep. I could not do anything but walk around the house like a lost soul, touching the walls, looking at the photographs, trying to understand how I had gotten here, how my life had turned into this. The house was silent, a silence I had never felt before, because even when Michael and I did not speak, his presence filled the spaces, his steps, his breathing, the sound of his keys when entering. Now there was nothing, only me, and the echo of my own voice when I dared to speak out loud. Why, I asked the empty walls. Why was I not enough? But the walls did not answer. On the third day, the phone rang. It was David. My son. Mom. Is it true? His voice sounded broken. Hurt. What is true, son? What Jessica just told me. That Dad left. That he is with Jessica's mom. I closed my eyes. The tears came out again. I thought I had no tears left, but there were always more. Yes, son, it is true. I heard a sob on the other end of the line. It cannot be, Mom. It cannot be. Dad would not do that. He loves us. He loves us all. I know David. I thought that too. When did it happen? How did it happen? I told him everything. From the beginning, from the suspicions, from Sam's birthday party, from the trip to Chicago, from the moment I found them in my room. David listened in silence, only interrupting with stifled sobs. When I finished, there was a long silence. Mom, I did not know anything. I swear. If I had known. I know, son, you are not to blame for anything. How is Jessica? I asked carefully. Devastated, he replied. She cannot believe her mom did this. She says she feels betrayed, ashamed. She does not want to talk to her. I felt a stab of pain for Jessica. She was innocent in all this, a good girl, a good mother, and now she carried the shame of what her mother had done. Give her a hug for me, I told David. Tell her this is not her fault, that I do not blame her. And Dad? David asked with a trembling voice. Do you blame him? The question left me breathless. I do not know, son. I still do not know. I'm trying to understand. To process. To survive. Can I come see you, Mom? No, son. Not yet. I need to be alone for a while. I need to think. But I do not want you to be alone. I will be fine. I promise. We hung up, and I went back to being alone in that house that no longer felt like a home. Days turned into weeks. I still did not go out. My sisters called. My friends knocked on the door. But I did not answer. I did not want to see anyone. I did not want them to see me like this. Destroyed. Broken. Empty. One afternoon, while cleaning Michael's closet, I found a shoebox hidden in the back. I opened it. And what I saw inside broke me in a different way. Letters. Dozens of handwritten letters, all from Linda. I took them out one by one. I read them all. They were love letters, letters where she told Michael how much she loved him, how much she missed him, how much she waited for the day they could be together without hiding. There were letters from 2 years ago, letters from a year ago, letters from just 2 months ago. In one of them, Linda wrote, My love, I know this is difficult for both of us. I know Emily does not deserve this, but we do not deserve to live unhappily either. Life is short, and I want to live it with you, only with you. Soon, my love, soon we will be together. I love you more than words can say. I read that letter over and over again. I know Emily does not deserve this. At least she had the decency to acknowledge it, to know that what they were doing was wrong, but not enough decency to stop. I kept reading, and in another letter from 6 months ago, Linda wrote, Michael, it is getting harder for me to see you at family gatherings and pretend we are just friends. Seeing how Emily serves you coffee, how she smiles at you, how she trusts you, it breaks my soul. But at the same time, it makes me angry, because I know that when you are with her, you are thinking of me. Right? Tell me you are thinking of me. I felt nauseous. All those times Linda came to my house, all those times she ate at my table, that she drank coffee with me, that she talked about her problems, that she asked me for advice. She was thinking about my husband. She was desiring my husband. She was planning to steal my husband. And the worst part of all, I never saw it coming. I put the letters back in the box. I hid them in the back of the closet. I did not want to see them anymore. But I could not throw them away either, because they were the proof, the evidence, the tangible truth that my marriage had been a lie for 2 years. That night I could not sleep. I stayed awake staring at the ceiling, thinking, remembering. And then I remembered something, a year ago. It was at the Mother S. Day lunch. The whole family was gathered. David, Jessica, the grandkids, Linda. I had made lasagna rice green beans, everything Michael liked. We were sitting at the table, toasting, laughing. And at one moment, when no one was looking, I saw Michael and Linda exchange a look. It was barely a second. But in that second, I saw something I did not understand then. Complicity, desire, secrecy. And I ignored it. I thought I was imagining things, that it was my mind playing tricks on me. But it was not my mind. It was the truth screaming in my face, and I did not want to listen. I got out of bed. I went down to the kitchen. I made a cup of chamomile tea. My hands were shaking. I sat at the table, the same table where we had eaten breakfast together for 30 years, and then I cried again. But this time I did not cry for Michael. I cried for me, for the woman I had been, the woman who trusted, who believed, who loved without reservations. That woman no longer existed, and I did not know who the woman who had taken her place was. Another month passed. Slowly I started to leave the house, first only to the market, then to church, then to visit my sisters. People looked at me with pity. I knew they were talking about me, that they were commenting, that they were whispering. Poor Emily. Her husband left her for her son's mother-in-law. What a shame. What a scandal. But I kept my head high. I was not going to give them the pleasure of seeing me destroyed, even if inside I was. One day while I was at the grocery store buying vegetables, someone touched my shoulder. I turned around. It was my friend Stella, the one who had warned me about Michael at the restaurant. "Emily," she told me with a soft voice. "How are you?" "I am fine." I lied. She looked at me with those eyes that knew everything. "You do not have to pretend with me, friend." And then I crumbled. Right there, in the middle of the market, among the stands of tomatoes and peppers and onions. Stella hugged me. She let me cry on her shoulder. "It is okay, friend. It is okay. Cry all you need to." When I calmed down a little, she took me to a diner nearby. She ordered 2 coffees. We sat down. "Tell me," she said. And I told her everything, absolutely everything. The letters, the lies, the betrayal, the pain. She listened without interrupting. She only nodded. She only squeezed my hand. When I finished, she sighed. "Emily, what I am going to tell you might not want to hear, but I am going to say it anyway." I wiped my tears. "Tell me, Michael does not deserve your tears. He does not deserve your pain. He made a decision, and now he has to live with that decision. But I loved him, Stella. I still love him. I know, and that is what hurts the most. But love is not enough when the other person is no longer there, when the other person has already chosen another path. And what do I do now? How do I move on?" Stella looked at me intently. "You get up, you dust yourself off, and you remember who you were before him. Because Emily did not start with Michael, and she is not going to end with him." Her words stayed with me. That night when I returned home, I looked at myself in the mirror for the first time in weeks. I saw a 58-year-old woman, with wrinkles, with gray hair, with tired eyes. But I also saw a woman who had survived, who was still standing, who was still breathing. And then I made a decision. I was not going to let this destroy me. I was not going to let Michael and Linda take away my dignity. I had lost my marriage. I had lost the man I loved. I had lost the life I knew, but I had not lost myself. And that was the only thing that really mattered. I cut my hair. I bought new clothes. I started walking every morning. I took care of my garden. I read the books that had been piling up on the nightstand. Little by little, the house stopped feeling like a tomb, and it started to feel like a new beginning. But just when I was starting to feel that I could breathe again, just when I was starting to think that maybe, just maybe, I could be happy again, I received a call that changed everything. It was David. "Mom, I need you to come. It is urgent." "What happened, son?" "It is about Dad and Linda. There is something you need to know, something that changes everything." My heart raced. "What is it? I cannot tell you over the phone. I need you to come to my house, now." He hung up. I stood in the middle of the living room, holding the phone, with my heart beating so hard I could hear it in my ears. What else could there be? What else could they have hidden from me? I took my keys. I left the house. I got in the car. And while I drove to David's house, I felt I was about to discover something that would explain everything, or that would make everything worse. I did not know which of the two, but I was about to find out. Sometimes when you think you know it all, life shows you that you are barely scratching the surface. Have you ever discovered a truth that changed your perspective completely? Tell me in the comments. The drive to David's house felt eternal. Every stoplight was torture. Every minute that passed, I felt my heart beating harder, faster, more desperate. What could be so urgent? What else was there that I did not know? I thought of all the possibilities. Maybe Michael was sick. Maybe he was going to marry Linda. Maybe they had discovered the relationship started before the 2 years they told me. Every thought was worse than the last. When I arrived at David's house, I saw his car parked outside, and also Jessica S. The living room lights were on. I rang the doorbell. My hands were shaking. David opened the door. His eyes were red, as if he had been crying. "Mom," he said, and hugged me tight. I entered the house. Jessica was sitting on the sofa. She had also been crying. When she saw me, she got up and ran toward me. "Mrs. Emily, I am so sorry. I am so sorry." I hugged her. Poor girl. She was not to blame for anything, and yet she carried the weight of the shame. "Calm down, honey. You did not do anything wrong." The three of us sat in the living room. There was a heavy silence. Uncomfortable. "Well," I said, trying to keep calm, "what is so urgent? What happened?" David and Jessica looked at each other, as if neither of them wanted to be the first to speak. Finally, it was Jessica who broke the silence. "Mrs. Emily, I went to see my mom." Her voice broke. David took her hand. "I know I told you I did not want to see her, that I was very angry with her, and I am, but she is my mom, and I needed to know. I needed to know why she did what she did." I nodded. I understood that feeling perfectly, that need for answers. "And what did she tell you?" I asked cautiously. Jessica took a deep breath. Tears began to roll down her cheeks. "She told me many things. She told me she fell in love with Michael 2 years ago, that at first she tried to fight it, that she knew it was wrong, but that she could not help it." I felt a stab in my chest, but I let her continue. "She told me that Michael also loved her, that he had told her that his marriage to you was already dead, that there was no love left, that he only stayed out of habit." I closed my eyes. Michael's words in that letter echoed in my head. "Our marriage stopped working a long time ago, but that is not the worst part." Mrs. Emily, Jessica continued with a trembling voice. I opened my eyes. "What else is there? My mom. My mom confessed to me that she was the one who started everything." "What do you mean? That she seduced Michael. She looked for him. She chased him. It was not something that simply happened, as she had told me before. I felt the floor move beneath my feet. What David intervened. "Mom, what Jessica is trying to tell you is that Linda planned everything, from the beginning." "I do not understand," I said, confused. Why would she do something like that?" Jessica sobbed. Because my mom was obsessed with having a partner, with not being alone. When my dad died, she was devastated. She felt invisible. She felt old. And then she saw Michael. Are you telling me your mom set her sights on my husband? Deliberately? Jessica nodded. Yes. She told me that at first she only admired how he was with you, how he treated you, how he was with the family, and she started fantasizing about having something like that, about having someone like that. I felt nauseous, and then she started getting close to him. Jessica continued. She started asking him for favors, if he could help her with some repairs, if he could accompany her to the bank, if he could give her advice. All those times Michael went out to help Linda, all those times I had let him go without suspecting anything. And little by little, David said with a voice full of rage, she started getting into his head, making him believe that you no longer valued him, that you no longer saw him, that he deserved something better. My God, I whispered. My mom told me it took her almost a year, Jessica continued. A year of conversations, of confidences, of playing the victim, of playing the understanding woman who listened to him. Until finally, Michael fell. I remained silent, processing, trying to understand. Linda had not just been the other woman. She had been the architect of my destruction. But is there more? Mom, David said with a grave voice. More, I asked in disbelief. What else can there be? Jessica also discovered something about the money. I looked at Jessica. She had her head down, as if she was ashamed of what she was going to say. Mrs. Emily, when I went to see my mom, I saw she was living in a very nice apartment, very expensive. I asked her how she could afford it. She told me Michael was helping her. Michael is paying for her apartment, I asked, stunned. Not only that, David intervened. He is also paying for her car, her credit cards, everything. I felt the blood rushing to my head. With what money, I asked. Michael does not earn that much. We have always been careful with money. Always. I stopped. I remembered something. About 6 months ago, Michael told me we needed to adjust the family budget, that things were tight, that we had to save. I had believed him. I had started buying less, spending less, saving every dollar, while he was spending that money on another woman. Mom, David said with a trembling voice. I checked the bank accounts, the ones that are in both your names. Dad has been transferring money to Linda S. account for over a year. How much, I asked. A lot, Mom. Too much. I felt like I was going to vomit. That money belonged to both of us. That money was for our family, for our future, for... I could not finish the sentence. Rage was choking me. There is something else you need to know, Mom said, David, with an almost inaudible voice. I do not know if I can hear any more, I said with a broken voice. You need to know, he insisted. Dad and Linda are planning to leave the country. The world stopped. What Jessica heard her mom talking on the phone with a travel agency. They are planning to move to Spain in 2 months. Spain, I repeated like an echo. Yes. They are going to sell Linda S. condo. They are going to use the money from the accounts, and they are going to leave. Far away. Where no one knows them. Where no one judges them. I stood up from the sofa. I could not stay seated. I could not stay still. I walked around the living room, from one side to the other, trying to breathe, trying to think. Mom, sit down, please, David asked me, but I could not. All this time I said out loud. All this time I thought Michael had made a mistake, that he had fallen in love, that things had happened without him planning them. But no. This was premeditated, calculated. He knew exactly what he was doing. Mom, he stole from me, I screamed. He stole my money. He stole my years. He stole my trust. He stole everything that was mine. David got up and hugged me. I was shaking from head to toe. And now what do I do? I asked between sobs. What am I supposed to do with all this? Whatever you decide, Mom. But we are with you. Always. Jessica also came closer. She took my hand. Mrs. Emily, I know my mom did something terrible, something unforgivable. And if you decide you do not want to see me again, I will understand. I looked her in the eyes. I saw in her the same pain I felt, the same feeling of betrayal. You are not your mother, Jessica. You are not to blame for anything, and I am never going to blame you for her decisions. Jessica started to cry. I hugged her. We both cried together. David hugged us both. And there, in that living room, the three of us held each other. Because that is what a family does. It holds together, even when everything is falling apart. That night I stayed at David S.'s house. I did not want to be alone. I could not be alone. I lay down in the guest room, but I did not sleep. I could not sleep. My mind would not stop. It went round and round over everything I had discovered. Linda had planned it all. Michael had been stealing money from me. They were going to leave the country. And I was going to stay here, alone, empty, with nothing. But then I remembered something my mom had told me many years ago, when I was a little girl and I had fallen off my bicycle. Emily, life is going to knock you down many times. But what matters is not how many times you fall. It is how many times you get up. I got out of bed. I went to the kitchen. I poured myself a glass of water. And there, in the darkness of that unfamiliar kitchen, I made another decision. I was not going to let Michael and Linda leave just like that. I was not going to let them steal from me and disappear as if I did not matter. I was not going to be the quiet victim. I was going to do something. I did not know what yet, but I was going to do something. The next morning I woke up early. David was already up, making coffee. "Good morning, Mom. Did you sleep well?" "But I am fine." I sat at the kitchen table. David poured me a cup of coffee. "Mom, I know all this has been very hard, but I want you to know that I am going to talk to Dad. I am going to tell him that what he is doing is wrong." "What?" "No," I interrupted him. "What? Do not talk to him. Not yet." "Why not?" I took a sip of coffee. I took a deep breath. Because first I need to think. I need to decide what I am going to do. And when I decide, when I am ready, then you can talk to him. David looked at me confused. "What are you planning, Mom?" I smiled. It was a sad smile, but also determined. "I am planning to get my life back, son. I am planning to get my dignity back." "And how are you going to do that? I do not know yet. But I am going to figure it out." I stayed at David's house 2 more days. In those 2 days, my mind did not stop working. I thought about confronting Michael. But what good would it do? I had already confronted him once. I had already asked him for explanations, and he had chosen to leave anyway. I thought about confronting Linda. But she had already shown who she was. A woman without scruples, without conscience, without remorse. I thought about hiring a lawyer, about fighting for the money, about making public everything they had done. But then I realized something. I did not want revenge. I wanted peace. And peace was not going to come from the outside. It was going to come from the inside. I had to find a way to forgive. Not for them, but for me. Because if I did not forgive, if I kept carrying all that rage, I was going to end up destroying myself, and Michael and Linda had already taken too much from me. I was not going to give them the pleasure of taking my peace, too. I returned to my house. I walked through the door. I looked around. Everything was the same, but at the same time, everything was different, because I was different. I went up to my room. I opened Michael S.'s closet. I took out all the clothes he had left, all of it. I put it in bags, one by one. Then I went down to the garage. I looked for old boxes. I filled them with his books, his records, his photographs, everything that was his, everything that reminded me of him. I packed it all, and when I finished, I called David. "Son, please come over. I need you to help me take some things. What things, Mom? Your Dad S. things. I am going to send them to him, wherever he is living now." There was a silence. "Are you sure, Mom?" "Completely sure." David arrived that afternoon with a truck. Between the two of us, we loaded all the boxes, all the bags, everything that had been Michael S. left my house that day. And when the last box went out the door, I felt I could breathe again. Mom, David told me before leaving, "I am proud of you." "Why, son?" "Because you are being strong, because you are choosing to move on, because you are not letting yourself be defeated." I hugged him. "Thank you, son, for being here, for supporting me, for being the man your dad should have been. David left, and I stayed alone in my house. But this time the loneliness did not feel heavy. It felt liberating. I walked through every room, touching the walls, looking at the empty spaces, and in every empty space I saw a possibility to start over, to rediscover myself, to be who I wanted to be, without having to be anyone's wife. That night I slept better than I had in months, and when I woke up the next morning, the sun came through the window in a different way, brighter, warmer, as if the universe were telling me, "Go ahead, Emily, your life is just beginning." I still wonder if I did the right thing by letting them go without fighting more. And you? What would you have done in my place? 3 months passed from the day I took all of Michael S. things out of my house. 3 months in which my life began to change in ways I never imagined. At first it was difficult, very difficult. There were days when I woke up, and for a second I forgot that Michael was no longer there. I reached out to his side of the bed and found only cold sheets. Those days were the worst. But little by little, very slowly, I started getting used to my new reality. I started doing things I had stopped doing during the marriage. Small things, things that seemed silly, but for me meant freedom. I signed up for dance classes, salsa, something I always wanted to do, but Michael said was ridiculous at our age. I started painting. I bought canvases, brushes, oils, and although I had no talent, it gave me peace to see the colors mixing on the canvas. I went back to gathering with my friends, with Stella, with the women I had neglected by being locked in my pain, and little by little I started to remember who Emily was before being Michael's wife. She was a strong woman, a woman with dreams, a woman with her own voice, and that woman was still there. She was just buried under years of marriage and routine, but she was ready to come out. One afternoon, while I was at the grocery store buying flowers for my house, I saw someone familiar. It was Linda. My blood froze. She was alone, looking at some vegetables. Her hair was shorter. She was more dressed up than before. She looked different. For a moment I thought about turning around, about leaving, about avoiding the confrontation, but something inside me stopped me. No, I was not going to run, no more. I walked toward her, slowly, with my heart beating fast. When I was close, I said her name, Linda. She turned around. When she saw me, she turned pale. She stood paralyzed. "Emily, I need to talk to you," I said with a firm voice. "I do not think that is a good idea," she replied with a trembling voice. "I am not asking you. I am telling you." She looked around. People were looking at us. She lowered her voice. "Okay, but not here. Can we go somewhere else? There is a coffee shop 2 blocks away. I will see you there in 10 minutes. I did not wait for her answer. I turned around and left the grocery store. 10 minutes later, I was sitting at a table in the coffee shop. I ordered a black coffee. My hands were shaking a little, but I forced myself to keep calm. Linda entered. She saw me. She walked slowly toward the table. She sat across from me. Neither of us spoke for a moment. Finally, it was I who broke the silence. "Why did you do it?" Linda lowered her gaze. "Emily, do not give me excuses. Just tell me the truth. Why did you destroy my marriage?" She took a deep breath. When she looked up, she had tears in her eyes. "Because I was alone. Because I was afraid. Why? Because I saw in Michael what I had lost when my husband died. So what you felt was not love," I said. "It was fear. Fear of being alone. Fear of growing old alone." Maybe at first she admitted, but later I did fall in love with him. And does that justify what you did? Does that justify you deceiving me? Coming to my house, eating at my table, pretending to be my friend while stabbing me in the back. Linda started to cry. "No, it does not justify it. Nothing I say justifies it. I know what I did was wrong, very wrong, and if I could turn back time—" "But you cannot," I interrupted her. "The damage is done. The marriage is destroyed. The family is broken. And all because of your selfishness." "I know," she sobbed. "I know, and I am sorry. Every day I hate myself for what I did." I stared at her, looking for something in her eyes. I do not know what. True remorse. regret. And yes, I saw it. It was there. But it did not matter anymore. Jessica told me everything I said. She told me that you were the one who started everything, that you planned it, that you deliberately seduced Michael. Linda covered her face with her hands. Yes, it is true. Everything is true. I also know that Michael is giving you money, money that belonged to both of us, money from our family. Emily, I did not ask him. I do not care if you asked him or not. You accepted it, knowing where it came from, knowing it was money he was stealing from me. You are right, she said with a broken voice. You are absolutely right, and I know you are going to leave the country, that you are going to run away, to escape, as if what you did not matter. Linda looked up. She wiped her tears. We are not going anymore. I stayed silent. I did not expect that. What, we are not going to Spain anymore. Michael canceled everything. Why? Because David confronted him. He told him that if we left, he would never speak to him again, that he would lose his son, his grandchildren, his family. And Michael could not do it. I felt something in my chest. I do not know if it was relief or sadness. Maybe both. So you are going to stay here, I said. Yes, but things are not good between us. What do you mean? Linda sighed. Michael is regretful, not of being with me, but of how things happened, of having hurt you, of having lost his son's respect, of having broken the family. Well, he should have thought about that before. I know, and I have told him. But he is no longer the same. He does not talk to me like before. He does not look at me like before. It is as if he were realizing everything he lost. I stayed quiet, processing her words. And you, I asked her, are you regretful? Linda looked me in the eyes. Yes, I am regretful. Not of loving Michael, but of the way I did it, of having hurt you, of having hurt Jessica, of having destroyed so many things for my selfishness. Does Jessica speak to you? No. She has not spoken to me for 3 months. She sent me a message saying she needed time, that she could not see me, that every time she saw me, she felt ashamed. I saw genuine pain in her eyes. A mother's pain. That pain you feel when you have lost the respect of your own child. And for a moment, just for a moment, I felt pity for her. But pity changed nothing. Do you know what hurts me the most, Linda? I told her. What, it is not that Michael fell in love with another woman. That can happen. The heart is unpredictable. What hurts me the most is that you both lied to me, that you looked me in the eyes and deceived me, that you made me feel like I was crazy for suspecting, that you stole the opportunity for me to decide for myself what to do with my life. Linda nodded in silence. You are right, and there is nothing I can say to fix that. No, there is nothing. I took a sip of my coffee. It was already cold, but I drank it anyway. Does Michael know you are here? I asked. No, he does not go out much. He spends his time locked in the apartment, working, thinking. And I try to go on with my life, but it is hard, very hard. I lost my daughter. I lost the family's respect. I lost everything. You chose to lose all that I reminded her. No one forced you. I know. We stayed in silence a while longer. The noise of the coffee shop filled the space between us. Finally, I spoke. Linda, I came here because I needed to tell you something. Tell me. I forgive you. She was stunned. She looked at me as if she had not heard right. What, I forgive you, I repeated. Not for you, but for me. Because I have spent the last few months carrying rage and pain, and that rage is destroying me, and I am not going to let it destroy me anymore. Tears rolled down her cheeks again. Emily, I do not need you to say anything. I just need you to understand something. Forgiving you does not mean what you did was right. It does not mean we are going to be friends. It does not mean I am going to forget. It means I am no longer going to let this consume me. Thank you, she whispered. Thank you, Emily. And there is something else I need to tell you. What? The money Michael gave you. The money that belonged to our family. I want it back." Linda turned pale. "Emily, I already spent a lot of that money. The condo, the car, I do not care." I interrupted her. "Find a way. Sell everything if necessary. But that money belongs to me, and I am going to get it back." "Okay," she said with a trembling voice. "You are right. I will talk to Michael. We will find a way." "You have 2 months," I said firmly. "If in 2 months I do not have my money back, I am going to hire a lawyer, and I am going to make this public. The whole city is going to know what you did. And believe me, Linda, you do not want that. No, I do not want that. I promise you will have your money." I got up from the table. I left a bill to pay for my coffee. One last thing I said before leaving. "What? Take care of Michael, because after everything you sacrificed to have him, after everything you destroyed, it would be a shame if you realize it was not worth it." And with that, I left the coffee shop. I walked down the street. The sun was setting. The sky was orange and pink. Beautiful. And while I walked, I felt something I had not felt in months. Peace. It was not a complete peace. There was still pain. There were still scars. But it was a beginning. The following days were different, lighter. I no longer thought about Michael all the time. I no longer wondered what he would be doing, who he would be with, if he would be happy. I no longer cared. My focus was on me, on my healing, on my future. One afternoon, David came to visit me. He brought the kids, Sam and Sophia, my 3-year-old granddaughter. The kids ran through the house, filling it with laughter, with life. "Mom, you look different," David told me while we drank coffee in the kitchen. "Different how? More calm, more you." I smiled. I feel more like me, for the first time in a long time. "I am glad, Mom. Truly." "How is your dad?" I asked him, not because I cared, but because I knew David needed to talk about it. David sighed. "Not good. He is sad, regretful. He says he wants to talk to you. And what did you tell him? That he had to respect your time, that if one day you wanted to talk to him, you would look for him, but not to pressure you. Thank you, son. Will you forgive him someday?" He asked me cautiously. I thought about his question. The truth is, I did not know. I do not know David, maybe someday. But that day is not today, and maybe it will not be tomorrow. Maybe it will take years, or maybe it will never come, and that is okay. I do not have to forgive him to move on. David nodded. "You are very strong, Mom, stronger than I thought." "I am not strong, son. I am just surviving, day by day." Well, that is more than many people manage to do. That night, after David and the kids left, I sat in my garden, the same garden that had been neglected for months. There were flowers I had planted a few weeks ago, roses, sunflowers, daisies. I watched them grow. I watched them open toward the sun, and I understood something. I was like those flowers. I had been withered, abandoned, without light. But now I was growing again, slowly, but growing, and that was enough. A few days later, I received a call from an unknown number. I answered cautiously. "Hello, Emily. It is Michael." My blood froze. I did not expect to hear his voice. "What do you want?" I asked coldly. "I need to talk to you, please. We have nothing to talk about." "Yes, we do. It is about the money. Linda told me you went to see her, that you asked her to return the money. That is right. That money is mine. I know, and you are right. I am going to return it to you. All of it." I was surprised. I did not expect him to accept so easily, when in 2 weeks, I am going to sell some things, and I am going to make the transfer to your account. Okay? There was an uncomfortable silence. "Emily, can we see each other? Just once. I need to tell you something." "No, please. I only ask for a few minutes." "Michael, I have nothing to say to you, and honestly, I'm not interested in what you have to say to me. Emily, give me back my money, And then, "Please, leave me alone. That is all I ask of you." I hung up. My hands were shaking, but I felt proud. Proud of having set boundaries. Proud of having said no. Proud of having chosen my peace over his need to feel forgiven. 2 weeks later, I received a bank transfer. It was all the money Michael had taken from me. Every last dollar. Along with the transfer. There was a message. "Emily, here is the money. I am very sorry for all the pain I caused you. I know I do not deserve your forgiveness, but I want you to know it was never my intention to hurt you. You were a good wife, a good woman, and I was an idiot for not valuing you. I hope you are happy. I truly hope so. Michael." I read the message 3 times. Then I deleted it. Not because I was angry, but because I no longer needed to keep it. I no longer needed his regret to heal. I no longer needed his validation to know my worth. I already knew who I was, and that was enough. While I tell all this, I wonder where you are listening from. Write the name of your city in the comments. 1 year. 1 full year since the day I found Michael packing his suitcases with Linda in my bedroom. A year in which my life had turned 360 degrees. I was no longer the same woman I had been. I was no longer the Emily who waited for her husband with coffee ready every morning. I was no longer the Emily who lived to please others. Now I was the Emily who lived for herself. I had gone back to work, something I had not done since before getting married. I got a job at a bookstore downtown. It did not pay much, but it was not about the money. It was about having a purpose, about having something of my own. My days were full. Dance classes on Tuesdays and Thursdays, painting on Saturdays, coffee with my friends on Sundays, time with my grandkids when David brought them to me. It was a simple life, but it was mine, and that made it perfect. One Thursday afternoon, after my dance class, I was waiting for the bus when I saw someone familiar crossing the street. It was Michael. He walked slowly, with his head down, hands in his pockets. He looked old, older than I remembered. He had more gray hair, more wrinkles, shoulders slumped, as if carrying an invisible weight. I stood motionless. I did not know if I should hide or stay where I was. I decided to stay. Michael looked up. He saw me. He stopped dead. For a moment, neither of us moved. Then, slowly, he walked toward me. "Emily," he said with a hoarse voice. "Michael," I responded neutrally. "How are you?" "Good." "And you?" He stayed quiet for a moment. He looked at the ground, then at me. "Not very good." To be honest, I did not answer. I just looked at him, waiting. "You look different," he continued. "You look good. Happy. Thank you. Do you still live in the house?" "Yes." "That is good. That house was always more yours than mine." There was an uncomfortable silence. The traffic noise filled the space between us. "Emily, I wanted to tell you something," Michael said with a trembling voice. "I am listening. I made the biggest mistake of my life when I left you. I know it now. I know it every day when I wake up, every night when I go to bed. Losing you. Losing you was losing everything." His words floated in the air. "But they no longer touched me. They no longer hurt me." "And Linda?" I asked. Michael made a face of pain. "Linda and I, we are no longer together." That did surprise me. "What happened?" "What had to happen," he said bitterly. "Turns out when you build something on lies and betrayal, it does not last. It cannot last. When did you end it 3 months ago? We started fighting, all the time, about everything. She complained that I was no longer the same, that I had changed, that I no longer looked at her like before. And was it true? Yes, it was true. Because every time I looked at her, I saw what I had lost by being with her. I saw your face. I saw David. I saw my destroyed family. So you left her? No, she left me. I almost laughed, but I held back. She left you. Yes. She told me she was tired of living with a ghost, that she was tired of competing with your memory, that she deserved to be with someone who really loved her. And did you love her? Michael stayed silent for a long time. When he spoke, his voice was barely a whisper. I thought so, but now I realize that what I felt was not love. It was escape. It was the thrill of something new. It was the ego of feeling desired. But it was not love, true love, that I had with you, and I was too stupid to see it. I did not know what to say. Part of me felt satisfaction. Part of me felt sadness. Where are you living now? I asked. In a small apartment on the other side of town. Alone. Very alone. And work, I lost some clients. When it became known what I did, when people found out, many stopped trusting me. They say if I was unfaithful to my wife, how are they going to trust that I am not going to steal from them? There was karma in that, a poetic justice. I am sorry, I said. And it was true, not because I wanted him to do badly, but because I saw a man destroyed by his own decisions. Do not be sorry. I deserve it. I deserve it all. The bus was arriving. I could see it in the distance. I have to go, I said. Emily, wait. Do you think someday you could forgive me? I looked him in the eyes, those eyes I once knew too. I already forgave you, Michael. Really? Yes, I forgave you months ago, not for you but for me, because I could not keep carrying that resentment. So, do you think we could try again? Start over. And there it was, the question that maybe once I dreamed of hearing. But not anymore. No, Michael. We cannot. Why not? I love you, Emily. I still love you. Maybe you love me. Or maybe you just miss the comfort of what we had. But it does not matter anymore, because I have already moved on, and I am not going back. Emily, please, Michael, listen to me well. I wish you the best, truly. I hope you find peace. I hope you learn from your mistakes. But that peace and that learning, you are not going to find them with me. The bus stopped in front of us. Take care, Michael. I got on the bus. I sat by the window. I saw him standing there, alone, in the middle of the street, watching me leave. And as the bus moved away, I felt a strange mix of emotions, sadness for the man he once was, relief that he was no longer my problem, and peace, a lot of peace, because I had finally closed that chapter of my life. When I got home, I called David. I needed to tell him, Mom, are you okay? He asked me worried. Yes, son, I am fine. Better than fine. In fact, I told him everything, the meeting, the conversation, everything. And how do you feel? He asked me. Free, I replied. For the first time in a long time, I feel completely free. I am glad, Mom. You deserve it. How is Jessica better? She is going to therapy. She is trying to heal her relationship with Linda. It is hard, but she is making the effort. Give her a hug for me. I will. Mom, can I tell you something? Of course, son. I am proud of you. Very proud. I saw how you faced all this. With dignity, with strength. You are an example to me. My eyes filled with tears. Thank you, son. Those words mean more than you imagine. That night I slept deeply, without nightmares, without anguish, just peace. The following months were quiet, routine, and I loved that routine. Until one day, 6 months after my encounter with Michael, I received a call from David. Mom, I need to tell you something. His voice sounded serious. What happened? It is about Dad. My stomach tied in a knot. Is he okay? Yes. Well, physically, yes. But he is very bad emotionally. I went to visit him a few days ago. Mom, his apartment is depressing. He has almost no furniture. He is alone. He does not eat well. He looks destroyed. I felt a stab in the chest. Why are you telling me this, son? Because I thought you should know. I am not telling you so you do anything. Just, I thought you should know. Are you helping him? I try. I go to see him when I can. I bring him food. We talk. But it is hard, Mom. It is hard to see my dad like that. I know, son. I am sorry. You do not have to be sorry. He put himself in that situation. That night, I could not sleep, thinking about Michael, thinking about the man he once was, the father of my son, the grandfather of my grandchildren. I did not feel love for him. That had gone a long time ago, but I felt compassion. Compassion for a man who had destroyed his own life by making bad decisions. The next morning, I did something I never thought I would do. I called Michael. Emily. He answered surprised. "Hello, Michael. David told me you are not doing well." There was a silence. "I am surviving. Have you eaten today?" "Not much. I am not very hungry lately. I am going to bring you food. I will make something and stop by your apartment. You do not have to do that, Emily." "I know, but I am going to do it anyway." I hung up before he could say anything else. I spent the morning cooking. I made rice, stewed chicken, beans, rolls, everything Michael liked. I did not do it for love. I did it for humanity. Because despite everything that had happened, he was still my son, his father. And I could not stand by watching him destroy himself. When I arrived at his apartment, I knocked on the door. Michael opened, and what I saw broke my heart. He was much thinner. He had deep circles under his eyes. His clothes were too big. The apartment behind him was dark, empty. "Emily," he said with a broken voice. "I brought food," I said simply. I entered. I put the things in the kitchen. There was almost nothing, just a small table, a chair, an empty refrigerator. "Sit down," I told him. I prepared a plate. I served it to him. I sat across from him. "Eat." He started eating, slowly, in silence. I just watched him. When he finished, he looked up. "Thank you," he said with tears in his eyes. "You are welcome. Why did you do this? After everything I did to you. Because even though I no longer love you, even though I no longer want to be with you, I can still be compassionate. I can still be human." Michael started to cry. They were not sobs. They were silent tears rolling down his cheeks. "I have lost everything, Emily. Everything. My family, my job, my dignity, my happiness. And it is my fault. Everything is my fault. Yes, it is your fault, but you can learn from this. You can change. You can be better. Do you think someday I can recover some of what I lost? I do not know, Michael. That depends on you. It depends on the decisions you make from now on." I got up. I left the containers with food in the refrigerator. "Here is food for several days. Eat well, take care of yourself, and seek help. Go to therapy. Talk to someone. You cannot go on like this. Will you come back?" "No." "This is all I can do. The rest depends on you." I walked toward the door. "Emily." He called me. I turned around. "Thank you for this, for everything, for being a better person than I was." I nodded, and I left. While I drove back home, I thought about everything that had happened, about how karma had caught up with Michael and Linda. Michael had lost his family, his reputation, his peace. Linda had lost her daughter, her dignity, and the man for whom she had sacrificed everything. It had not been a revenge I had planned. It had been life collecting its debts, and me. I had come out of all this stronger, wiser, more me. That night, I sat in my garden. The flowers I had planted were in full bloom, beautiful, vibrant, full of life, like me. And for the first time in a long time, I smiled, a genuine smile, complete, because I had survived. Not only had I survived, I had blossomed, and as I looked at the stars in the night sky, I knew with certainty that my story did not end with pain and betrayal. It ended with redemption, with peace, with a new beginning, and that was more than many people achieved. He once called me crazy for suspecting. Years later, I saw that same emptiness in his eyes while he was alone in that apartment. Life always collects its debts. Have you seen how karma does justice in your own life? Share your story in the comments. 3 years have passed since that day I opened my bedroom door and saw Michael packing his suitcases with Linda. 3 years that feel like a lifetime. Today I am 61 years old, and I can say with certainty that I am happier now than at any other time in my life. It is not a loud happiness. It is not a happiness of big events or extraordinary achievements. It is a quiet, deep happiness. The happiness of knowing myself, of respecting myself, of loving myself. Every morning I wake up in my house, that house I once shared with Michael. But that is now completely mine. I have redecorated it little by little. There are no longer photographs of the marriage on the walls. Now there are paintings I painted myself. There are photographs of my grandkids, of my friends, of the places I have visited. Because yes, I have traveled. Something I never did with Michael because he always said we did not have money or it was not the time. I have gone to Napa Valley, to Charleston, to Paris, sometimes alone, sometimes with my sisters, sometimes with my friends. And in every trip I have discovered a part of me that had been asleep. The bookstore where I work has become my refuge. I spend my days surrounded by books and people who love them. I make recommendations. I organize book clubs. I listen to stories. And sometimes, when a woman comes in with that lost look I knew so well, I make her a tea and listen to her. Because I know what it is to feel broken. I know what it is to feel your life is over. And I also know it is not true. That life does not end when a man leaves. That life just begins when you decide that you matter. My grandkids are my joy. Sam is 8 years old now. Sophia is 6, and David and Jessica just had another baby. A girl. They named her Emily. When David told me the name, I cried. I cried with happiness, with pride, with love. Mom, we want her to carry your name because you are the example of what we want her to be. A strong woman, brave, who does not give up, he told me. There are no words to describe what I felt in that moment. David and I are closer than ever. He calls me every day. He visits me frequently. He includes me in everything. And Jessica. Jessica has become the daughter I never had. She also healed. Little by little, she forgave her mom, although their relationship never went back to being the same. Mrs. Emily, you taught me that forgiving does not mean forgetting, and that setting boundaries is not being a bad person. It is taking care of yourself. She told me once. She told me Linda lives in Phoenix now, far away, alone. She works in an office, lives in a small apartment. She sees Jessica 1 or 2 times a year. She is okay, I think Jessica told me. She is not happy, but she is surviving. I did not feel satisfaction hearing that. Just sadness. Sadness for a woman who sacrificed so much for so little. And Michael. Michael is still in the city. He lives in that same apartment. His business improved a little. He recovered some clients. It is not what it was before, but he survives. David sees him every now and then. He tells me he is better, that he is going to therapy, that he is trying to be a better person. And is he alone? I asked him once. Yes, Mom, he is alone. I think he understands he needs to be, that he needs to learn to live with himself before trying to be with someone else. I have not seen him again since that day I brought him food, and it is fine like that. Sometimes I wonder if he thinks of me, if he regrets his decisions, if he imagines what his life would have been like if he had not betrayed me. But they are just passing thoughts. I no longer get trapped in them, because the truth is, his life is no longer my problem, and mine is beautiful. This morning I woke up early. I made coffee. That cinnamon coffee I like so much. I sat in my garden. The sun was just coming up. The sky was painted with oranges and pinks. The flowers I planted 3 years ago have grown so much. The garden is full of color, of life. And while I drank my coffee, I thought about everything I have learned. I learned that self-love is not selfishness. It is survival. I learned that forgiving is not forgetting. It is letting go. I learned that you can love someone for 30 years and still have the courage to let them go when they hurt you. I learned that betrayal says more about the person who betrays than about the person betrayed. I learned that karma is real, that life has a mysterious way of balancing things, that bad decisions have consequences, and that those consequences do not always come from the outside. Sometimes they come from the inside, from guilt, from regret, from the emptiness of having lost something valuable. I learned that it is never too late to start over, that at 61 years old you can discover who you really are, that you can reinvent yourself, that you can blossom. And I learned that happiness does not depend on having someone by your side. Happiness depends on being okay with yourself. My life now is full of small moments that bring me joy. The hug of my grandkids, the laughter of my friends at Sunday coffee, the smell of new books in the bookstore, the taste of hot chocolate on cold afternoons, the silence of my house, a silence that no longer feels empty, but full of peace, the music I play while I cook, old love songs that make me remember that I have lived, that I have loved, that I have lost, but that I am still here. Sometimes. Every now and then. I think of that Emily who stood at her bedroom door watching her world collapse, and I wish I could hug her, tell her she is going to be okay, that it is going to hurt a lot, but that she is going to survive. And not just that she is going to grow, that she is going to heal, that she is going to blossom in ways she never imagined, that the version of herself that is on the other side of the pain is stronger, wiser, more complete than she ever was. Last week, something happened that made me smile. I was at the bookstore organizing some books when a woman came in. She was about 55, sad eyes, slumped shoulders. "Excuse me," she said with a trembling voice, "do you have any books on how to overcome a betrayal?" I looked her in the eyes and saw my reflection from 3 years ago. "Yes," I told her with a kind smile, "I have several. But before showing them to you, do you want a coffee?" She seemed surprised. Well, if it is not too much trouble, it is no trouble at all. I made 2 cups of coffee. We sat in the small reading corner of the bookstore, and there, for an hour, she told me her story. Her husband had been unfaithful. With her best friend. They had been cheating on her for 2 years. She had just found out. It was my story, with different names, but it was my story. When she finished speaking, she was crying. "I do not know how I am going to get over it," she sobbed. "I feel like I am going to die, that my life is over." I took her hand. "Your life is not over. I know because I went through the same thing. And look at me. I am here. I am fine. I am happy. Really. Can you really get over it? Yes, it will not be easy. It will not be quick. But yes, you can. If I could, you can too." I told her my story. Not all of it. Just enough so she knew I understood her pain. "And what do I do now?" She asked me. "Now you allow yourself to feel. Cry everything you need to cry. Get angry everything you need to get angry. But when you are ready, when the pain starts to calm down, start looking for who you are without him. Start remembering that you existed before him, and that you will continue to exist after him." And forgiveness. How do I forgive something like that? You forgive when you are ready, not before. And you do it for you, not for him. Because resentment is a poison that only hurts you. But forgiving does not mean forgetting. It does not mean going back. It means letting go. It means stop carrying that weight. She wiped her tears. "Thank you. Truly. Thank you for listening to me, for giving me hope. That is what us women are for, to hold each other up." When she left, I stayed thinking about that conversation, and I realized something. My pain had not been in vain. Everything I had gone through, everything I had suffered, had turned me into someone who could help other women, someone who could be a light in their darkness, and that gave meaning to everything. This afternoon, while I write these lines in my journal, I look out the window. The sun is setting. The sky is painted in beautiful colors. My coffee is warm on the table. It smells of cinnamon and home. I hear the birds singing in the garden, and I feel deep gratitude. Gratitude for having survived. Gratitude for having learned. Gratitude for being here, now, being this version of myself. I do not know what the future holds for me. I do not know if one day I will love again. I do not know if I will trust someone that way again. And it is okay not to know, because I learned that I do not need to have all the answers. I just need to have peace. And peace is exactly what I have. If someone asked me, "Emily, was all that pain worth it?" I would answer, "Pain is never worth it." But what I learned from the pain, That was worth it, because that pain taught me to value myself. It taught me to set boundaries. It taught me that I can be alone without feeling lonely. It taught me that someone else's betrayal does not define my worth. And it taught me that I can get up, again and again, no matter how many times life knocks me down. To the women listening to this story, to the women going through something similar, I want to tell you something. I know it hurts. I know you feel your world is over, that you will never be happy again, that you will never trust again. But I promise you that you will. You will be happy again. You will trust again. You will love again. But first, you have to love yourself. You have to remember that you are valuable, that you are enough, that you deserve respect, loyalty, true love. And if someone cannot give you that, if someone chooses to betray you, deceive you, hurt you, that person does not deserve you. Period. It does not matter how many years you spent together. It does not matter how much you invested in that relationship. It does not matter how much you love him. If that person does not value you, let him go. And I know it is hard. I know, because I lived it too. But on the other side of that pain, on the other side of those tears, on the other side of that betrayal, there is a life waiting for you, a better life, a life where you are the protagonist, a life where you decide, a life where you matter. And that life is beautiful. So do not give up. Do not let pain destroy you. Use it. Learn from it. Grow through it. And when you are ready, when you have healed, share your story. Because your story can be the light someone else needs to get out of their darkness. I am here today, at my 61 years old, happy, at peace, complete. Not because I found another man to complete me, but because I found myself. And I discovered that I was already complete on my own. I always was. I just needed to remember it. And if my story helps a single woman open her eyes, if my story gives strength to a single woman to get up, if my story shows a single woman that yes, it is possible, then everything, absolutely everything I went through will have been worth it. Thank you for listening to me until the end. Thank you for letting me share my story with you. And remember, you are stronger than you think, you are more valuable than you imagine, and you deserve to be happy, always, with all my heart. Emily. Thank you for listening until the end. If this story touched your heart, subscribe and hit the bell icon to hear more stories of women who transform their pain into wisdom. Every day, a woman, a life lesson. Share this story with someone you love. Sometimes a story like this can change a whole day. God bless you, and see you next time.